So Howard Webb, the officials, the PGMOL have once again admitted to getting the decision wrong in regards to the Odegaard handball against Liverpool that was so blatantly a handball that anyone that's ever played football or watched football in the history of the sport admits to it being a penalty. But the refs managed to come to the wrong conclusion. That's good. And that awesome show known as Mic'd Up. Just keep coming out, Howard Webb, and just telling us how rubbish refs are and that they keep getting the decisions wrong. What's the point in that? Run by Michael Owen as well, who has got about as much personality as a flannel. So let's go through it. I've got the transcript here, so I'll read it out to you in case you haven't seen it. So the referee's bellowing, his hands on the floor, his hands are on the floor. So VAR 1 says, just give me your best view. Just going to look for another angle. Yeah, please, can you just give me this in full speed? He goes on to say, yeah, I can show you wider from full speed. Yeah, because it clearly hits his arm. That's not the point I'm looking at. Cool. Yeah, so this is coming at full speed. Okay, thanks. Thanks. Okay, yeah, for me, I'm back with live. So he's falling down. He's moving his arm in towards him, so it's check complete for me. VAR 2, yep, from the brief look I've seen, yeah, agreed. Yeah, agreed, check complete. On-field decision, no penalty. I mean, the unprofessionalism is unreal. So let me just break that down for you. So the referee is bellowing. His hands are on the floor. His hands are on the floor. So what should the VAR officials be checking? That his hands are on the floor. That's the one thing they should be checking, because that's what the ref's bellowing out. So all you got to do is slow it down. Is his arm on the floor? No, it isn't when the ball hits it. And so if they had checked it and he genuinely slips over, his arm goes onto the floor to stop his fall, and then the ball hits it, you could argue that's not a penalty, because there's not a lot he can do to move his arm out the way. But that's not what happened. And also I'd like to argue as well, so if that did happen on the goal line, so Odegaard slips, puts his arm down to stop himself from falling, and then the ball that's clearly going in the goal hits his arm, would that be considered a penalty then? Would that be, would that be handball? I think we all agree it would be. So, but anyway, that's what they were checking. But the two VAR officials managed to go off on a tangent. One of them is talking about how he's falling down and his arm is moving in towards him, so check complete for me. What's that got to do with anything? His arm's moving in towards him. So has that ever been a rule in football? So as a defender, I can just do this. But as long as my arms are moving in towards my body at the time the ball hits, then that's not a penalty, apparently. So making up rules. And then the VAR 2, which baffled me, is from the brief look I've seen, I agree. From the brief look you've seen, because that's your job, is it? So the brief look is what the referee gets in live. Do you know what I mean? That brief look he gets from live sport. So the only reason VAR was even brought into the game was so that you didn't have to have that brief look, and so that you get decisions wrong on split-second decisions. But he's okay with just going, yeah, from the brief look I've seen, I couldn't care less, to be honest. Yeah, no penalty, don't care. Move on. And it's the language they use and the way they talk to each other. One's always bellowing over the top of the other, and just the unprofessionalism. Why is that not being talked about on the show? Because Owen's not going to ask any of these questions. He's just the biggest yes man going. So, and Howard Webb quote, the decision didn't reach the right outcome. What's the point of the show? Where's the progression? Where nothing's getting better. There's no things put into place by Howard Webb. Oh, this is what we're going to do to get better. We're now going to slimline it. We're going to have a way of speaking. We're going to have terms like, the massive decision that we had with the Spurs game where the goal was disallowed because they didn't know what the on-field decision was, which is ludicrous. There was talk of they need to explain themselves better, so the ref should be saying, right, on-field decision is this. Can you check that, please? Okay, we'll check that. Like, the ref should be saying, he looks like he slipped onto his arm on the floor. So can you check that for me, please? The minute they check that, they can see that that isn't the case. And so at the very minimum, he should be sent over to the monitor. Because They should be going, right, you think he slipped onto his arm. That isn't the case. Can you just go to the monitor to check that? If he runs over and still believes that it's not a penalty, then that is what it is. But that's the bare minimum that should have happened. And bearing in mind that even the most biased Arsenal fan couldn't say that wasn't a penalty. The most biased Man United fan would agree that's a penalty. And it's not just Liverpool. It's everyone. They're getting bad decisions week in, week out. Ones that come to mind, Wolves have had some horrendous ones this season. Everton had the Calvert-Lewin red card, although I think that was in the FA Cup, doesn't matter. But where no one who's ever played football or watched football would agree that's a penalty. That's a red card. There was no force, nothing. The guys analysing it at half time are baffled by it. How can that be the case? How can that be the case that the ineptitude of these referees are changing the outcome of matches? You know, they're having too much say. They're having way too much say on the outcome of football matches, having too much say on a win, a draw or a loss and where teams are in the table. Instead of the managers and the players who are the real stars of the game having a proper say on where you should be in the table. Like, how can you have it at the end of a season where these tables come out and they're like where it would have lined up without VAR? That teams shouldn't necessarily be in that position they're in the league because they had too many favourable VAR decisions or they didn't have any favourable VAR decisions. You know, it's an absolute joke. And what's changing? What is the progression? You can't just keep apologising and saying we came to the wrong conclusion without anything getting better. That's not how things work. And the fact that it's not just happening to your team, it's happening to every team in the league, does that make it right? Does that, we just got to go, we just got to stomach it and go, oh, okay, that, it should even itself out there. No. You wouldn't get away with this in any other line of sport. And the reason in any other line of life, in any other business, you wouldn't get away with it. I mean, an insurance company, like ringing up your insurance company and saying, "Oh yeah, I need to make a claim. I've had an accident," and then just go, "Oh, we haven't got you registered on the system, so you're not insured. Sorry about that." What do you mean? I'm insured with you guys. Oh, it's just a mistake. Yeah, we've done this to 2,000 other people, so it's okay. Oh, you've done it to others. That's okay then. I'm lost for words with it, really. It's just disgraceful. Something needs to be done. How can you have a system where managers and players and everyone, no one can come out and say anything because you just get fined? So they can just make mistakes week in, week out. No one can say anything about it. They just fine you anyway. And it just seems a bit fishy to me. It really does. But that's my say on it. I think it's a joke. But have your say in the comments. I'll reply to all of them. Tell me what you think. And tell me if you've got any ideas that can make it any better or